Like I do remember just like saying, God, I don't want this life anymore. Like it gets tiring after a while. You come home to nobody again. You just, like I said, I wanted that relationship, and at the end of the night, they're like, "Oh no, I'm not gonna call you no more." And so I was sitting there just like crying. Just I'm like, okay, well, you got all what you wanted, but at least talk more.
Right.
But no, people. If that's all they wanted, the guys, that's all they wanted. So
Welcome to One Way Podcast. I'm your host, Angel Ariola, and today we have Miss Valerie with us, and she's gonna share her testimony. She's gonna let us know everything that God's been doing in her life. So, first, tell us how long you've been to church. Well, how long you've been saved, and how did you come into the church?
well, coming in like July, coming this year, I would be already 10 years and saved. I've been coming, just started coming a little bit more. Like Brenda was the one that invited me the both times back in before I started coming. Well, I started coming back in like 2009, around there, with my daughter's dad, and then well, we didn't think it was right for us, so we backslid and came. Then I saw Brenda at a Dollar Tree, and she's like, "Come back! What are you doing with your life? Like, there's nothing for you out there." And I'm like, you're right.
Right.
But I mean, they used to do a lot of movie outreaches right here at the apartments where we used to live at, because Brenda was my neighbor as well. So she'd be like, "Come out to the movies," and I'm like, "Yeah, whenever. I don't want to right now, or
Right.
I'm busy," making all kinds of excuses, because I was like, I don't want it. And then I was just like, no, no, no. And then they would invite me to the Planet Musics, and I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll stop by. So I remember the first time when I went to the Planet Music, Miss Dora was like the one that prayed with me at the altar, and I was like, oh, okay. I started coming, and then my daughter's dad, after a while, like at the beginning, we were both okay. Yeah, let's do something different with our lives. Have God in our lives and all that. And I'm like, yeah, that's good. But we never understood the fact of separating, because we were not married. I mean, we were both married at the before, so we were fornicating and doing all this stuff. And so, like, we still stayed together for a little bit, and then we would hear sermons where pastors like, "Well, you're doing all this and doing that, and you need to separate." And so we came for a little bit, and then, like, you hear the same sermon, like, separate and this and that if you want to really serve God. So we didn't understand that part. Like, why did we have to separate if supposedly we loved each other and God is all about love and this and that? And so finally, like I said, we just backslide. Then, like in 2015 is when I saw Brenda at the Dollar Tree, and right away she heard my voice, and she's like, I recognize that voice from a mile away. And she's like, "Come back. What are you doing?" I'm like, nothing. There's nothing going on in my life.
Right.
And at that time, like a month before, I had just lost my grandma. So I was like, man, And she's like, well, if you're not right, then you're not gonna be able to come back to church. I mean, you could come to church and be right, and maybe you can see your grandma. And I was like, okay. Like, there was nothing. So I was like, might as well. But I know when we did, right before we backslid too, it was just like, we were just behind on everything, like living paycheck to paycheck. He was working, I was working, but we weren't right. So everything was falling behind on us. And so, little by little. But then when I came back, that was like, like the best decision that I've done. And like I said, it's going on 10 years already.
Right.
And she's already about to be 15. So
Wow.
we came in a little bit when she was about to almost be 5. Well, she had just turned 5. So, but she was a little bitty baby when we first came.
Right.
Yeah. So she came, like I said, she's already about to be 15. So
Wow. So
And
10 years since you've been back this time, right? And how long were you backslidden the first time? So like when you first came in, you came in 2009, you said?
2009.
And like,
So I think we only came. She was born in 2010, so I think we only came for a little. Like we would come together for a little bit at the beginning, and then after that, I would just come by myself. But it was like at the beginning, like maybe mid 2010. Just so we only came for like a few months because we kept hearing the sermons and get right and get right and get right, and we didn't see the point of it to get right, get right, get right, but never did. I mean, I didn't know anything about this.
right,
Yeah,
about
so,
really serving God and
yeah,
being saved and stuff
yeah.
like that.
I mean, you don't hear it like growing up or anything like that. So it's like, that's the whole point that we didn't understand. Like, separate the 6 months if you were serious about living for God, and we were just like, okay, well, I guess we're going to church. That should be the best that we're giving,
Right,
you know. So we're not. It
Man.
shouldn't be like, oh, leave each other. But we were both, like I said, we were both married.
So y'all were married, other people, but y'all were together?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, wow.
So,
Right.
but because that was what I was used to, like finding, what do you call it? Like you wanted a father figure, you wanted to find love. So that's what I was like, always just trying to find somebody else or whatever. Even though I was married, I was like, oh, well, I don't know any better. Talk to this guy and talk to this guy and talk to this guy. And
Right.
so that was the whole thing. So yeah, like I said, we were both married and then together, but we weren't married. Me and him obviously weren't married.
Right.
So we're already there. Like I said, I didn't know better about being only to your one husband, or
Right.
because I was like,
you've never seen it before.
No,
right.
no, I've never.
And so, I want to take it back a little bit. How did you grow up? Like, were your parents like?
So my dad wasn't really in my life.
Right.
So I guess that's why I was trying to find that love, and like trying to find love in men, and because my dad was like in and out. He was always in jail, doing drugs, and the times that he was around, he was really abusive to us, and I'm being the oldest, I saw a lot more of his abusiveness. Like I saw him pull the gun on my mom. They argued and he pulled the gun on her, and so all of that like
kind of messed you up a little bit.
It did mess me up a little bit, but I tried not to let it affect me to where I was trying to be that person, abusive and all that. Because that was one thing too that I had told my ex-husband, like, hey, you put a hand on me, I'm going to send you to jail. Because that's one thing that I wouldn't allow, like for a man to put his hands on me in a wrong way. So because I saw my dad do that so much to my mom, so I was like, I don't want to be like that.
Right.
So we used to go to Catholic church, the San Fernando church, everybody knows that one.
So you're from here then? San Antonio, born and raised and all that? Wow, okay.
So yeah, we went to the San Fernando church, but like I said, I was about anywhere around like 8 to 10 years old. So we would go from time to time, Christmas, the main thing, somebody dies, we go to church, but we were never fully in it. So, and I remember just going to the San Fernando church, and they would give you like the Proverbs. That's all they would read, was just the Proverbs. So I was like, where's the actual Bible? Like,
yeah.
So, I mean, my grandma was Catholic, so I would see her pray, and she would tell us, don't come into my room. My door's shut this time, don't come because I'm praying. So she would have an altar, but like I never asked questions like, what you doing? Or
your parents didn't like teach you about God. It was just go to church and then that was it.
Yeah, that's why I said we only went to church Christmas, Easter, and when somebody died. Like that's the normal thing. Like somebody dies, like, oh, we got to go to the church now.
Right.
But other than that, and I would go when I was married. I would go to the Baptist church too, but it was like a little, about 20 people, 30 the max. So like still there, they wouldn't really talk about hell, and so I was like, I remember the pastor there would had told me a message, but I mean it didn't even like click with me because I was like, okay, I didn't write it down. It wasn't like nothing.
Right.
I just thought that he was just talking like he would talk to everybody about, but no.
Right.
So I was like, I didn't know really anything about going to church or living right, and
so church was just like, okay, we're gonna go and kind of like check it, do the check. Like,
yeah, that we went and that's it. Yeah. I mean, and like you say, everybody's like, oh well, we're Catholic and we do this and we do that, but as soon as we would get out the church, my mom was like, oh well, let's go do this and let's go do that, and stuff that we weren't to just be. I remember one time that we did go to church and I was judging this old lady because she asked for money, but I'm like, why am I going to give her my $2? I wanted a fruit cup, but she was like, we need to give it to her, and I'm like, no, that's my money. But because the old lady, I saw her the next time and she had like brand new shoes, and I'm like, you see, I could have got a fruit cup instead of her. I felt like I was donating money to her.
To her shoes.
Yeah, because she came and she had brand new shoes. I'm like, yeah, see. But see, I didn't know like, oh well, that was wrong to like be like judging, because maybe that was the $2 we gave her. She needed those pair of shoes. So I didn't know that, but I was selfish on my ways of wanting a fruit cup after church. And
right. And so how old were you at that time?
Like I said, between 8 and 10, around there.
So you were like in elementary,
elementary, yeah.
And so how did you grow up? Like, how was school, middle school for you? Like, how did things start? Going south, I guess.
Well, everything started going a little bit south when middle school. Elementary was fine. Middle school, I know I would hang around with, so like they say, the bad crowd. Like they were always skipping and all that. I remember just one time that I did skip school, but I told my mom that I had missed the bus. But in reality, I didn't ever go to school, and I did miss the bus to come back home. So she was all worried for me, and I'm like, oh, I missed the bus, so I had to walk home. I didn't realize what time it was, and she got after me because I was messing around, like trying to skip. Not all the time, like a few times that I did, but I would try to make sure to watch the time, and that time I forgot to watch the time and got home like really late. But I think everything started going more down south, like in '98 when I lost my mom. Like I said, she had some kind of, I don't remember what she died from, but I know that I took it the hardest. I mean, my brother and my sister did as well, but I felt like it hit me more because I was the oldest, and
you were more closer to her.
Oh yeah, because
right.
Towards the end, like I was her provider almost. Like I would have to shower her, and at that time I was about 14.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Wow. So I remember like she would tell me, well, are you gonna take me a bath? And I'm like, no, like I don't want to. I want to go with my friends down the street, and she was just like, well, I just need you to help take care of me. And I was like, no, I don't want to. And
so did she ever remarry, or did she ever have?
No.
That was just y'all and your mom.
Yeah.
How many? Do you have brothers and sisters?
One brother and one sister.
Both
younger.
Oh, okay.
So I'm the oldest. Yeah. So, like I said, she never remarried, but when she did try to talk to other guys, that's when my dad would come around and like be like, oh, he could have the other women. But as soon as she started talking to somebody like, hey, just friends, like, hey, you can come over or whatever, we can sit out here and drink and da-da-da, he would come up and be like, well, you're mine. You're not supposed to have anybody else, but he could have. And that's why I said, like, that's what I thought that, I seen him with different women. So I thought, okay, well, maybe that's how life is supposed to be, like
Right.
being with different men or whatever. But no, she never remarried. She never had nobody else because he would always come around and threaten to kill her or do this and do that. So, but no, she had got sick, and from there on, that's when it like got rough. So I'm like, my family. I don't really talk to my family. I only talk to my sister, occasionally my brother, but like my aunts and my uncles, nobody like so. I mean, we stayed with one of my aunts, but she never really. She treated us like really like her slaves and all that. She didn't. It wasn't. You can tell the difference between her kids and us. They favored her. She favored her kids, and me, my brother, and my sister. We were always like the black sheep. Like, oh, don't talk to them, because you know.
And so this is all when you're like 14, right after your mom dies.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. So and then, like I said, I stayed with my aunt for a little bit, and then after that, I ended up going to my grandma's for a little bit. But my grandma, like I was in school and then I was working. So like I said, it did affect me, but I would just hold it all in, like cry when stuff would happen, or I really wasn't one like, that it messed me up really bad. But so I stayed with my grandma for a little bit, and my grandma was like, well, where are you at? You don't come home. And I'm like, I work and I go to school. Like, there's no time. My grandma would wake up like at 11 o'clock in the morning. I was already gone about 7. And then I wouldn't come back home till like about 10. So I would stay, but not like I would stay in school and then I would go straight to work. Just so like that I can get stuff for myself or what. Because I couldn't ask my aunt, like, hey, can I have money? Or can I have this? She'd be like, oh, I don't have it. No, I can do this. Or so that's why I like wanted to work, so I can, one, to get away from them, and two, so I can have my own money.
Right.
And so then when I stayed with my grandma, I started going to school. I was in St. Philip's. That's where I had met my husband. Well, when I was married, my ex-husband, but we were there. And then I had my son, my older son, because I have 2 older boys as well. Not just besides not her as well. She's not the only one. But so I have my 2 older boys, and I was forced to get married because his grandma, like I said, they were Baptist, and she said, no, you have to get married.
So your grandma's telling you?
His grandma.
Oh, telling you all to get married.
Yeah.
And so how old were you at the time?
About 19.
Oh, wow.
So she said, you have to get married because you're pregnant and you're bringing somebody. You cannot bring a baby in. So a little bit she told me that, it wasn't right to bring a baby in, not being married. And then, so long story short, like I said, I just wanted to be from man to man. So I did lose my boys, like the custody of my boys, because I didn't want them to be in the streets or whatever with me. I was living in the streets. I was living out of a shed, just had my stuff at the shed, and I would shower like at a motel real quick. And
so you're 19 when all this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
So you got married 19 years old. And how long did that last? What tell us a little bit about that.
The marriage lasted.
Because you're married by force, right? Isn't that something you wanted to do?
No, it was forced. I didn't want to get married.
Wow.
Like I said, I didn't know about marriage. I didn't know about this. And I think I was married for about 6 years.
Really?
But since I was always like seeking attention from other men, like I ended up cheating on him, so I was like, I don't know any better. I didn't know. I just wanted to be. So I did lose, not necessarily the custody. I just let him have them because I didn't want to bring them in the streets with me and then the city or the state take them away, So I didn't want that for them. So yeah, so I was married about 6 years. And like I said, this was all from like 1920-ish. I believe I met my daughter's dad. Had to have been like 21, 22. We worked together, so we spent a lot of time together. And, you know, just him talking nice to me, or I was like, oh, I like this. And I didn't care if I had a husband because I wasn't getting that attention at home. So, of course, I went elsewhere to look for it.
Right.
So, yeah. And then like I said, after that, I was with her dad for about a year or two. And then I was like, okay, somebody else. Because now I'm not getting what I wanted from him. And somebody else. But
And so really, like, a lot of it is like you seen your dad do that, and so now you're like, well, it's normal.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
That's what I thought. That's how I saw life. Because like I said, he always had different women left and right, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess that's normal. But I'm not gonna let no man hit me like the way he would do to my mom, or So, like I said, yeah, that was mentally, that was all that I thought. Like, this is life. This is what, if he's doing it and he seems to enjoy it, then why can't I? Like,
and so, where's he at? I mean, what happened whenever your mom died? Like, because you said he's in and out of your lives, right? What happened?
When my mom passed, a little after the services, he was like reaching out to my aunt, like, hey, did y'all want to see me? And I tell my brother and my sister, I don't, but that doesn't mean y'all don't have to. I was like, so if I say no, y'all can still say yes. But I was like, I'm not. So I didn't I didn't get a hold of my dad until a couple years when I came back to church. Because then I heard a sermon saying, like, you needed to forgive this person. Because I did have anger towards him. Because I'm like, I always accused him of, like, that my mom ended up passing and all this. Even though she passed because she was sick, not because he did. But I was like, it's all your fault, and I don't want to see you. I don't want nothing. And finally, I heard a sermon. I think it was a revival, and somebody's like, well, you have to, the first person that comes up, you need to forgive them. And somehow, I don't even know how I was able to get a hold of him. And I told him, I was like, look, I don't want you to hinder my walk. I'm just barely starting this, coming back to church. And I would like to forgive you. I was like, because I was like, I don't know. I was like, you can tell me your side of the story, like why you were not in my life. I was like, but it's too late for me to. I mean, maybe not too late. I could have still had a relationship with him if he was willing to do that. But he didn't want it, so. But no, I told him, I was like, look, I have to forgive you. I don't want to carry this anger towards people just because you were so mean to me. So, and I was like, so you can tell me whatever you feel like it's your side of the story, because I never heard why he did all this. And I asked him, I'm like, why did you do the things that you did? And he would say, oh, it was your grandma's fault and this and that. She didn't like me and I didn't like her. And so that's why he was so mean to my mom, because like my grandma kept telling my mom, well, he's not right for you. He's not this, he's not that, da 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 da. And so, but I mean, I told him that I forgave him, but we never really had a relationship after that. Like, still in and out of my life. He said, oh, I don't know how to be a dad and I don't know how to be a grandpa. And I was like, I'm not asking you for any of that. Just communication, like, hey, how are you? Occasionally, if you want to go meet somewhere, then okay. But I'm not asking you, like, oh, from today to tomorrow, I want you to be in my life already. I was like, it takes time. It takes, patience with that. But no, we never had a relationship at all. Nothing.
Wow. So this is between you and your dad. This is the time when you started coming back to church.
Yeah, like about the first year or so. Because like I said, I heard a sermon. I don't know if it was pastor or somebody, an evangelist that had came, and they were just like saying, you're not going to move, you're not going to walk in your faith or anything if you have this grudge on you. So like I said, I don't even know how I got in contact with him. Somehow I ended up just getting his number and calling him and just telling him, you know. But no, this was just all from 98 all the way up until like my second year, 2016.
Wow. And so you were just trying to get right with God about him, just so you won't, like you're saying, you don't want your walk to be hindered because of unforgiveness. So was that the reason mainly you were trying to reach out, just to like, hey, I forgive you? Then,
Yeah,
right.
that was mainly the main reason. But I was like, if you want to build a relationship, you know, we could do it little by little. But no, he never wanted to. Cause like he kept saying, I don't know how to be a dad. I don't know how to be a grandpa.
Right.
And so I'm like, I'm not asking you, just simple communication.
Yeah. Okay, so the second time you came back to church, right? Before you ran into Miss Brenda, at any point where you like, you know, maybe I need to go back to church, or what was going on before that? Like, what was it for you that, because you know she invited you and she said like there's nothing out here. So what was it for you? Like, you know what, maybe she's right. Maybe I should go back to church. Was there anything like things going on in your life, or did you think about God when you were backslidden and all that?
So what brought me back is like I didn't want to keep being used by these guys. Like these guys would just call me for one thing and that was it. And then at the end of the day, I was the one that was sitting there hurt.
Right.
Because I wanted a relationship with them, but they didn't want nothing. And so I remember just like crying and telling God, like, I didn't want to live this life anymore. Like, you know, I didn't want to keep being used, and I don't want to be seen like with different men and now it made me realize too that, you know, I don't want a different guy in my daughter's life or whatever.
Right.
So that was something that made me like think about like wanting to come back. I mean, and I didn't even think seconds of it. I was just like, oh, okay, yeah. Let me see if I can make it out on Sunday. But I would just like, I do remember just like saying, God, I don't want this life anymore. Like it gets tiring after a while. You come home to nobody again. You just, you know, like I said, I wanted that relationship. And at the end of the night, they were like, oh no, I'm not going to call you no more. And so I was sitting there just like crying, because I'm like, okay, well, you got all what you wanted, but you know, at least talk more.
Right.
But no, people, if that's all they wanted, the guys, that's all they wanted. So, but no, that was something. And then, like I said, I didn't want to have different guys around my daughter.
Right.
That's not something that I want to see for her, or for her to go through that later on and be like, oh well, it was okay. It was okay for you to do it. Yeah. Why can't I? Yeah. So I had to stop and think about, it's not just me, it's her that I have to take care of. Like, I don't want somebody to be like doing something to her or anything because I have different guys around or whatever.
Right.
So that was something too that was like, well, I can't I can't think about myself. I have to think about my daughter. Especially because I had already, the boys, I would see them occasionally, and it's been about 8 years now that I haven't seen them. I don't know where they're at, if they're in San Antonio or not. I try to reach out, but there's no way for me to reach out to them. So, like I said, I have to think about her, because it's not about me no more. It's somebody else I have to take care of, you know. And I wouldn't want her to see any of this stuff, you know. So I'm trying to like save her from experiencing all this with what I did and different guys, and because I could tell you, it's not a life.
Yeah.
It's definitely not a life, and it's like,
yeah, same old thing. So how old was Jada when you came back to church?
She was
a baby.
Yeah, she was gonna be 5.
Oh, she was gonna be 5.
She just had turned 5.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So when we first came, she was a little bitty preemie baby, and we stayed for a few months.
You and her dad, right?
Yeah.
And then y'all separate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, coming to the church. She's 5 now. So whenever you came to the church, you answered the altar call. You said Miss Dora prayed with you.
The first time.
Oh, the first time.
Yeah, the second time Miss Brenda did.
Okay, so you get saved, and then what happens after you get saved? As far as like what was it for you that you're like, you know what, maybe I'm not gonna do what I did last time? As far as, because you came in single.
Yeah.
Okay, so what was it this time that you really got saved?
That I really needed a change for me, just the same thing every day, different guy. I mean, not a different guy every day, but I just wanted a change. And at that time, I wasn't, because I separated from her dad like when she was about 2. So, I mean, after that, I was like, okay, well, I need to really focus on her. And I made it more priority for me to be there more for her. And so I came back single. And like I said, it's just, for me, that was it. That I just needed a change.
Right.
And I said, I want to do this. Like, I need it for me, because I don't want to keep living the same life like that. That's not, I couldn't do it no more. It's just like every day, I'd rather just be alone than for right now, and instead of being, like they say, bad company or something.
Right.
So I'd rather do it alone.
Right. So you come, you get saved, and then and where's your family and all this after you start? You come into church. Did you was
I witnessed to my grandma a little bit before she passed away. She was, she's full blown Catholic, so she's like, oh, I don't understand what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, no, like I turned, I'm not. She really didn't know about the different men. She just knew about my ex-husband and my daughter's dad. So she didn't know. I never told her or anything about like, oh, there's this other guy. Or, no. So I tried to witness to her, and she was just like, no, I don't understand that. And I'm like, it's nothing. I'm just saying, like, I feel different now, giving my life to Jesus. And like I said, she's used to praying to Mary, so she don't know any.
Yeah.
She had her little altars of all the Virgin Marys there, and I was like, okay, well, she never she blew me off. I witnessed to my grandpa, and right before my grandpa passed, I know Henry came out and was, visiting with him, and I remember that my grandpa did answer, like he said the sinner's prayer. Because he was like, well, I don't want to go to hell.
Yeah.
Like, and my grandpa was just like, well, I don't know, but I'm not going there. And I was like, well, that's right, because you already gave your life to Jesus. And it didn't hurt me when he passed, because I was like, okay, I know he went.
Felt good about it.
I know he went and saved.
Right.
Because he had said the sinner's prayer right before he passed. Right. So I was like, okay, so it didn't hurt me, because he was my dad. But he wasn't, I saw him as my dad, but he wasn't like disciplining me or.
He just kind of raised you up.
Yeah.
And so what about your brothers and sisters? Your brother and sister, because you have one sister, one brother, right?
My brother moved to Los Angeles about 7-8 years ago. And he's been up there. My sister's here in San Antonio, but I try to witness to my sister all the time. She's just like, oh, okay, maybe one day we'll go to the church. Maybe one day we'll go to church. And even, she has the church right next to her too, on the south side. Like literally walking distance. And she's like, oh, not today. I don't want to go today. Or I'm not going to go today.
Right.
And I asked her, one day, just random conversation. I was like, if we were to die right now, where would you go? And right away, she's like, oh, I'm going to heaven. I said, no, you're not. I was like, you would actually go to hell. And she turned around and blew me off and said, oh, okay, whatever. Yeah. And I'm like, no, I'm being serious. Like, we could die, right now in this car. I was like, we could be in an accident right now. And she was like, no, no, no. Like, everybody else blew me off. And so, like I said, I don't talk to none of my other family. My uncle, I have 2 uncles and about 3 aunts, or 2 aunts now. And I don't talk to nobody.
So whenever you got saved, what are some things that you could say that God began to do in your life different? Like, all right, you know what? Everything you didn't do the last time you were in the church, or what are some things that He just did for you? Touch on that a little bit.
Differently, I didn't want that to be, I didn't want to be without that little pleasure was no longer there for me. I don't want this.
Right.
So I wouldn't talk to the guys. So they would be like, oh, hey, how are you? Da, da, da. Oh, I'm okay. And shun them off and do some other stuff. Because I was like, right away, I know if I tell them anything. And I wasn't talking to them like, hey, handsome, or talk to them normal. But they saw it as a different way.
Yeah.
So I had to learn, not to talk to guys. I would just be like, hi, how are y'all? And that's it. Nothing else from there. I wouldn't make any more other conversations. So I saw that the desire for to have different men, I didn't have it anymore.
Wow.
Because I was just like, I don't want to be used like that.
Right.
So that was something for me. And then I never picked up drugs, or I picked up drinking, but now even just looking at the not beer, just like margaritas or anything, it's like, those are so gross.
Yeah, for real.
But I don't, like I said, now I just want to continue my walk. I want to do more.
Right.
I want to see, a lot of times my job, I can't do outreaches, or I can't do this because my job won't let me take the time off from it, or it's a lot. But I'm I do want to be involved and do more, but
right.
Job, work always oh, well, no, you can't have that day off, or no, we're short staffed, you can't get this one day off. It's
yeah, you gotta start praying, asking God to open up doors for that.
I know,
and He will.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So now raising up your daughter in church, how has that been?
It's good because she was doing the children's church for a while, and she was just all stirred up about it. She still knows some of the songs that they would sing in the children's church. And I mean, and seeing her now, just, she opens up her Bible on her own. I mean, at the beginning, she did boot camp. So when she came back, I did tell her, hey, at least try to do 15 minutes of Bible reading. And I would remind her, for about 2 weeks or so after that, I would just tell her, did you do your 15? And she's like, yeah, I already did it. So just to see her opening the Bible herself, and knowing what she learned in children's church, that was, she's still oh, I remember we sang this song and we did this so we can win this, or, the little games they play. So she still remembers stuff like that. And even though she spends a lot of time drawing, she does listen. She's hearing, because I had said something and she was like, Mom, that's not what Pastor said. And I was like, he said something like that. But, they listen to what they want to hear.
Right.
But she's actually does. She's listening. And even the Bible studies, she's right away wanting to read a scripture, so
Right.
So that for me, that's good for me to see that in her, that she wants. So I do pray God, let her just continue to live for you the way, or have her do what she needs in your will, what you want for her life. And so I said, just to see her open up a Bible, and I know she's almost done. I don't remember. I think she told me she was in Joshua. But, just by herself, already from Genesis to Joshua, Yeah, you
And
know.
she's doing that by herself.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean,
Wow,
like
that's
I said,
cool.
and then for her to be open, like at the Bible studies, and be like, "Hey, like, yes, I'm gonna read," and they're like, "Well, can you read this long? It's about five verses. Can you do it?" Yeah. I could do it.
Yeah.
So that's like, you know,
Right.
and I like to see when she does stuff like that. And sometimes when she hears the outreaches, can we go to this one? And I was like, I'll try to take it off. That's all I can do. You know, ask, see if I can get in. I was like, it's not guaranteed, but we can definitely see if we can make it out.
That's that's so cool to hear, because to everything that you went through, from seeing your dad, be abusive to your mom. You're growing up at 8 years old, 9 years old. You lose your mom at 14, and you start messing around and getting involved and stuff like that. And you grew up like that because you didn't have, your parents weren't serving God, and now you get saved, and your daughter comes into church when you're 5. So now she's seeing you serving God, coming to church, and and to see that now that she doesn't have to see everything that you saw. And
Exactly.
like you're saying,
I mean, that's what I'm saying. I don't want her to see this.
Right.
And a lot of times I tell her, like, we do stuff together because I didn't have my mom to do this.
Right.
Like, let's go have lunch one day, or, when I have a little extra money, you know what, where do you want to go? Let's go do this, let's go do that. But because I tell her I didn't have my teenage years to fully be with my mom.
Right.
I was like, so I try to do as much with her, a little every time we get, like, hey, let's just go to Walmart real fast. Let's just go. Where you want to go? We're just going to go somewhere to eat real quick. Just so she knows as well.
Wow.
And especially that she doesn't have a father in her life. So a lot of stuff, I have to be her backbone because she doesn't have anybody else to, so stuff like that too. I know it triggers her, like, about not having a father in her life, but I have to remind her I didn't have mine either. And look, I'm fine. I mean, yes, I would have loved to have my dad in my life. Right. And she wants to see her dad, but I don't know where to reach out to him at. So I was like, it's not my job to look for him. You can look for him, but where do we find him? Like, if you don't know where to look for him, I don't have his number. She doesn't have his numbers. I'm like, I don't know where to look for him. If he wants to, he'll come. But I mean, I'm glad that, like, she opens up to Mr. Eddie a lot. She goes and tells him whatever she wants to tell him, so she's more comfortable with him. And so I'm sure she sees him as, like, a dad figure, way he come up with his kids. And so she's always talking to Mr. Eddie. Right. And sometimes, I'm like, come on, let's go. Like, I'm ready to go to bed. She's like, okay, I'm talking to Mr. Eddie real quick. Like, But that, like I said, that's good for me to see, because at least she's opening up to guys. Like, at least just saying, talking. Some of them she's still like, oh, no, I don't want to talk to nobody. But you can find her talking to Mr. Eddie or Mr. Gibby. One of the two, she likes talking to them.
That's funny. That's cool.
But I mean, and that makes me happy for her to go talk to other people as well. But like I said, I do see the difference. Like, her seeing me read my Bible and, praying in the mornings. And like I said, she does that all on her own, the Bible. If she prays, that's on her. But I know she sees me with the Bible.
Right.
And I'm like, I'll tell her, okay, I am reading or whatever. I'm not ignoring you, but I'm reading. So just so like that, she's not talk. So I have to just remind her, like, I am praying. I mean, or I'm trying to read or whatever. And she's like, oh, okay. So she'll go and do her 15 minutes.
Wow.
But just like I said, just to see her
do
it on her own. So I only told her for about a week or two, and I was like, hey, remember to do your 15. Okay. And now I don't even have to remind her.
Right.
She already has her little timer on, and she'll do her 15 minutes.
Wow. To see a 14-year-old reading your Bible is, like, really nowadays unheard of.
Yeah.
That's awesome to see and to hear, because most kids are just on their phones. They want to do this and they want to do that, and to actually, it's cool because, again, going back to the way you were, like, you saw your dad and your mom like that, so you did that, and so now the thing that Jada sees you and you're reading and praying, so she's like, "Well, I'm gonna do that. That's what my mom does."
Yeah, I mean, she knows
Yeah.
now that's what we're doing.
Yeah,
and
that's what we're gonna
and
do.
like I said, even though she's drawing during the services, she will still write down the verses. And I see her write down, like, I'll glance over sometime and I see her write whatever pastor just said, like, oh, don't do this or something, or she'll read. She's writing down all the verses still, but like I said, she's still listening.
Right.
Yes, and I'm like, that's still kind of cool.
Yeah, it is.
But I mean, at the beginning, nobody ever knew where she was at because she was always asleep. Like, they were like, "Where's Jada?" Passed out on the road here. So nobody even knew she was there. She was always asleep.
Yeah.
But now she just stays drawing, but she's listening.
Right.
She listens, and I'll tell her, you see, this is what Pastor said too. Listen or do this or do that. And I am really grateful for her though too.
Yeah.
Like, just now that she's getting older, she's able to do for herself and help me with laundry sometimes. And I'm like, oh, that's good. That I'm grateful to have you like that.
Yeah.
There's some days where I'm like, oh, I don't want to even do laundry, but she'll get on it and start it and finish it out.
Wow.
And even made her do simple stuff the other day for dinner. I was like, boil the macaroni and let's go do the corn. That's all you have to do. Everything else is done. So I was like, oh, thank you, Jesus, that, she helped me. And I was already running behind from getting off work late. And I was like, just do the macaroni. You know how to do that. And so I was like, I know little by little she wants to do more stuff as well. But
wow, that's awesome. So tell us, what are some things that you want God to do in your life, or what are some things you want to see? Maybe He's doing things already. He's already been doing for you. Touch up a little bit of that.
well, I know He's done a lot. I can't even explain all the stuff He's done. Right. I know He's been like a provider. I haven't had. I mean, yes, I've been like struggling like money, but it's never been like, oh, I don't have this, I don't have that.
Right.
I've always have. I mean, He's been a really good provider. And like I said, it's just, yeah, I do struggle, but there's nothing that I'm paying me late. I'm not behind on anything. And so I know that's something that I see God working. And even like little checks that I get here and there is like, I don't even know where this money came from, but God, you know where it's coming from. Like, I'm like, I don't even know. Just the other day I got 3 checks for $38, a total $38. But I'm like, you know where it's coming from. I don't know. I mean, and I guess just to see, like, I know He moves and He continues to move in my life, but maybe just to see like a godly husband to come in, and a godly man to come in so he could be my husband. And so now that I know what to be faithful to one person, to be able to love that person, or for that person to love me and respect me. So I mean, that's something that I do pray about, because I know she wants, a dad in her life. She wants siblings, siblings that live with her. She wants to be able to fight with them, I guess, or something, or to be able to say, oh, well, my brother did this, or my sister did this. She doesn't experience any of that.
Right.
So I mean, but I know there's stuff that has to still be within me, for me to be able to find this person that God has for me, or for both of us. Like I said, I want him. I just don't want somebody and it's gonna mistreat us. So that's something too that I'd have to be careful with. Make sure, that he's really a godly man.
Nice. So usually before we end it, right? I just want you to leave a few words for anybody, people who are listening, or words of encouragement for people who were in a familiar situation, the way you were growing up, and they don't know about God, they don't have their father, they don't have their parents. What are some words you'll leave people who may be listening, who grew up just like you?
I would say just to really seek God, because he does move in your life. And I mean, you're a Christian, you're still gonna struggle. I mean, but as long as you continue to follow the word, what it says, read, pray, and the words that he gives as the sermons, listen to those, because they'll go to heart. And if you really just want to follow, put your whole heart into it, follow Jesus with your whole heart, and he can change your life. And I mean, he's done it for me, and he hasn't failed me yet. So, and I know he won't. He's not gonna just leave me, out of nowhere. He will continue to provide for you, and but you have to be willing. You have to surrender and be willing yourself to give yourself to God, and he can really change in your life.
Wow. Well, I just wanna just share my to let you know that, because I know that we do have a bunch of single women in the church, and you know you are a good mother. I see how the relationship you have with your daughter, and just want to let you know that you are doing a good job, right?
Yeah.
And but that one thing that Pastor always tells us is to pray for the single mothers, because I just imagine how hard it is. So, but and I do see God bless the single mothers, right? And so, but yeah, I just wanted to share that with you, that we are. That's one thing that Pastor always tells, and I hear Pastor all the time. He's always praying for the single mothers.
I mean, I'll pray for the single mothers as well. I mean, because we're in this together. It's not just me, or it's just this person. No, it's all of us. So I will pray as well for us single mothers. Because I'm like, give us the strength, because we have to do double the work. We have to go to work. We have to come home and do laundry, cook dinner, do all this. We don't have anybody else to do this for us. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not just one person. It's just we're all in together, all the single mothers, even the widows, the ones that are not single mothers, that just they don't have a husband. Okay, it's all the single ladies, single mothers. It's not just single mom. Because the single ladies as well, they have double the duty as well. They don't have to provide for kids, but they still have to provide for themselves. So it's double the duty for them as well.
Yeah, true. It's true. It's encouraging to see, and so I just wanted to share with you that you're a good example, and I'm glad that everything God. I'm glad to see, like, everything you just shared with me, like, just to know that your daughter doesn't have to see that anymore.
Yeah.
That you can give a better example. So thank you for sharing your testimony. That was powerful, and hopefully people could, if you're watching and you're going through the same thing as Miss Valerie, or whatever it is, even if you're not, like she said, like, if you trust God with all your heart, he's gonna provide. He's never gonna, he knows how to take care of his people. And so keep that in mind. Jesus Christ is coming back soon. He loves you. He wants a relationship with you, and we are living in the last days, so we're just encouraging people to get saved. And the Bible says to repent and turn away from your sins. So we thank everybody for watching, and until next time, peace.